how's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to your Food for Thought Friday. This is your host, April Hanna. So the topic of the Food for Thought Friday today is going to be about judgment. So just kind of want to share a couple of personal experiences with you guys and maybe get some of your feedback and see if you've ever have gone through similar feelings of being judged either by others and maybe sometimes not really knowing what to do with that. So the show is kind of relevant because, sometimes when we can go to our friends, they might give us their absolute 100% honest opinion, and sometimes it can be a little judgy. And so I've experienced that in the past couple of months, and it was kind of reminded, these are the things that I should probably talk to my therapist about. Because, and as being a therapist, it's really interesting how you can really sit down and we're kind of trained to exercise that non-judgment. You just allow your client to talk about whatever it is that they're going through, no matter how outrageous the situation may seem. And you just sit there and you hold space and offer love and compassion without any judgment. Really easy to do on a professional level. But then, I noticed too myself, I am guilty of probably judging things that my friends and family members do. And, it's always a little bit challenging. Like, how can I be so non-judgmental a good portion of the time in my career, which is X amount of hours per week. But then sometimes out in the real world, I might be judging somebody that has a certain reaction in a grocery store, or I'm judging the way somebody's driving if they're cutting me off. So I've always been a little curious about what do we do with this whole judgment that we're feeling as we're trying to move more into a spiritual practice, spiritual place of compassion, and trying to maybe let go of some of that judgment. And then after a couple of these things happened recently, I did a little more research and I found a great 4-minute YouTube that I'm actually going to share with you guys. And it brought in just a bigger understanding for me that it's really not about trying not to judge, but it's releasing some of the judgment that you're having about judging, if that makes any sense at all. So kind of what triggered this was, as you guys know, we are starting these Food for Thought Fridays. I started the book club, and the first book, of course, that I chose is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Bleep. And then 2-Minute Tuesdays, I found some pretty cool quotes, and some of them had some swear words in it. So I knew that might ruffle some people's feathers, and it actually did. And on our YouTube channel, we ended up getting a comment from somebody, and she had said, "Is all this name-calling and rude language necessary? This has turned me off to this channel to unsubscribe." And that was a quote on Don't Surround Yourself with A-holes. And I believe it was a quote from Freud that I just think is absolutely hilarious and great. So if you want to listen to that 2-Minute Tuesday, you can go back and listen to that. And then there was another comment posted by the same person on chapter 1 of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck with the comment saying, "Really?" and question mark. So one of the things that kind of course, tripped up my ego a little bit, like, hey, what's going on here? Why are you being so judgmental? And there was a part of me that thinks, gosh, if you have been with us and have been with this podcast channel for over 100 episodes, at this point, you have to realize that at Path 11 here, we deliver good content. And then here we are kind of getting a little edgier, a little more playful, trying to make it a little more real for our audience with some of these other shows that we're putting out. And then this is kind of the immediate feedback that we get. So, of course, as a human being, I think, oh no, did I mess up? Should I, tone this down a little bit? And then it reminded me of a quote that I once read that said, "You will be too much for some people. Those are not your people." And that's what I kind of held with me a little bit and realized that, there probably are going to be some people who are turned off by some of the content that we put out there. We cannot please everyone. I always say too, even there's people out there who even dislike Oprah. And if what Oprah has done in the world today, and she still has people that dislike her, like Path 11 here, production, we are not going to be perfect in the eyes of everybody. So I had to do a little bit of an ego check. And then that just led me into a little bit more of thinking about the quote, don't judge a book by its cover. So I'm thinking, wow, I bet you this person did not even listen to any of the episodes. They just saw the title and were turned off by it, and then having such a strong reaction that they decide that they're going to unsubscribe to this channel. So I thought that was pretty reactive. Everybody has their their personal freedom to pick and choose what they want to listen to. And if they're that turned off by it, then I would say, go for it, unsubscribe. Because as that one quote said, then maybe you're not our people. But it just got me to think a little bit about that quote, don't judge a book by its cover too, and made me decide to stop and think, anytime I might be initiating a judgment immediately, that, okay, I can honor that judgment, but then maybe those are the things that I need to look a little bit deeper into, explore it a little more, and not just stop myself and have this assumption and idea already made up before I actually get the full story. Now, of course, I have no idea if the person actually unsubscribed or if they listened to the 2-Minute Tuesday or got into the book club. But the one thing for sure is that I know all of our stuff delivers good content. So then, just the other day, I received an email from a listener, and I'm going to do a little shout out to Carol. So thank you so much, Carol, for this beautiful email. But at first, when I opened up the email, I didn't think it was so beautiful. I quickly scanned it, and there's a line in here that says, "But lately, since you've started the book club podcast and the 2-Minute Tuesdays and you have dropped F-bombs," now all of a sudden I skim this, and I see that, I'm like, oh great, here we go again. Here's another person. And I started to freak out again. I'm like, great. So I'm just going to have to censor myself more. I'm going to have to just, maybe drop these ideas because I'm not going to do it if I can't be authentic, number one. But then I said, okay, hold on, go back and read this email again. So I go back and I read more of the email and I continue with where she's going with this. So it says, "But lately, since you've started the book club podcast and the 2-Minute Tuesdays and you've dropped F-bombs and shared more of your personal life, I really started thinking, in quotes, this woman is great. I bet she's a great person to know in real life," end quote. And then this listener went on to, just describe some things that she has been able to relate to the book club. And I have to say that getting an email like this just totally, kind of gave me confidence again, really helped me to digest the negative comment that we got about what I was doing and gave me, I would say, just more confidence. So thank you, Carol. Thank you for that wonderful vote of confidence to say, hey, keep being real. Don't stop what you're doing. And I would say, Carol, you are my people. So thank you so much for that feedback. And, it's amazing how you can kind of just waver back and forth as you're trying to deliver content out into the world and you want your listeners to like you. And I know all of that's ego-driven. But at the same time, we're human beings behind all of this. And yeah, when we get some negative comments too, it can hurt. No lie. No doubt about it. So anyway, after these couple of things have happened over the past few months, I decided to do a YouTube search and I wanted to learn a little bit more from the mindfulness perspective of what are we supposed to do with non-judging. So I want to share this 4-minute YouTube content with you, and then I'll come back on and we will discuss it.
Non-judging is a very important element of mindfulness practice, and in fact is part of my working definition of mindfulness, which is the awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. And the non-judgmentally is the real challenge, because when you start to pay attention to what's on your mind, you very rapidly discover that we have ideas and opinions about everything, just about everything. And we're always judging things in terms of, I like that, I don't like that, I want that, I don't want that, this is good, that's bad. And it's like a steady stream of judging. So when we speak of mindfulness as being non-judgmental awareness, it doesn't mean that there won't be judgments. It means that you will be aware of how judgmental we actually are, and then not judge the judging. And when we relate to it in that kind of a way, then we begin to see that our judging is very often black and white. It's either this or that, good or bad, like, dislike, want, don't want. And we get imprisoned by that kind of view. But being non-judgmental doesn't mean that all of a sudden you get stupid. and think, well, I'm not going to be judgmental, so I'll just walk out in the street in front of an oncoming truck. What difference does it make? No, it means that we will cultivate discernment. This is the capacity to see what's actually unfolding, but not to judge it, but to recognize it and to understand it in relationship to our experience. So when we speak about non-judgmental awareness, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a very fine degree of discernment, of clarity, of wisdom, of understanding the interconnections between things, and at the same time, noticing the tendency to judge quite quickly, like, don't like, want, don't want, and to recognize that that actually creates a kind of veil or a filter in front of our eyes that doesn't allow us to see things as they are, but to only see them through the lenses of our own ideas and opinions and likes and dislikes, which is practically blinding to us. So this is a wonderful discipline, the cultivation of awareness of judging and the cultivation of being gently non-judgmental, or not judging the judging that we do discover in ourselves. And over days, weeks, months, and years, we can begin to actually find a way to navigate through our judging in such a way that it no longer dominates our lives in quite the same way. And we recognize when it comes up that it's actually, in some sense, toxic. And the more we challenge it, and the more we rest in discernment and in pure awareness, the more we can live life authentically in the present moment without getting caught by our own habits of mind, unhealthy, if you will, habits of mind.
Okay, I love that. So if you want to search it on YouTube, we probably will put the link in the show notes. But the person that was talking was Jon Kabat-Zinn, and he is from the Center for Mindfulness at the University of Massachusetts Medical School. And then if you were to type into YouTube, NBSR, The Attitude of Non-Judging by Jon Kabat-Zinn, you will be able to find this 4-minute thing. Or YouTube. So I hope you found that as refreshing as I found. And I really like the fact that it's kind of funny that when we're working on judgment, that we have to not judge the judgment that we're doing. So I just think, these mindfulness practices are beautiful ways to continue to work on ourselves and to check ourselves. So I hope this Food for Thought Friday will bring you into your weekend and week to come, and just beginning to recognize maybe some of your own judgments, not judging them. And then I would also say maybe challenging yourself to not be so quick to judge. Now, I also found a quote to wrap this up that I think is absolutely perfect. And it is by, I may not pronounce this right, Jiddu Krishnamurti. And the quote is, "The ability to observe without evaluating is the highest form of intelligence." I'll just repeat that. The ability to observe without evaluating is the highest form of intelligence, which I think also wraps up that 4-minute YouTube of what he was saying. You are observing without evaluation. So I guess, there is a little evaluating if you are trying to not judge the judging. However, I just think that it's a great way to connect with what he was saying at the very end of the YouTube about not being so quick to come to a judgment. And what we can practice is more observation. And then I would say if there is something that you're feeling pretty triggered about and like you want to judge it and it's stirring up a strong emotion, I would challenge you to look into it a little bit further and deeper, and maybe more with an open mind and just seeing, what that may bring you. So that is your Food for Thought Friday. Oh, I also have an announcement. Also want to let you guys know that we launched a new website design. So if you want to take a look at that, Mike and I were trying to focus a little bit more on what our story is and connecting more with our audience and letting them know how we were brought together and what our purpose and mission is. We redefined our mission statement. So we're constantly evolving. And we do have a new web series that is almost finished, at least one of the 7 episodes that is going to be coming to you throughout the year. So we're really excited to bring you guys that. And on the launch of the new website, we also have the DVDs for sale for $14.99 each. So you have a little bit of a sale going on over there as well. All right, guys, great talking to you. I hope you have a great weekend or day, morning, evening, whenever you're listening to this podcast, and try to get out there and look at the world with a little more non-judgment. Take care. Signing off.